Good day, everyone. Welcome to our forum. And I'm Amar, and today we are exploring a topic that every university student understands but rarely discusses in depth: campus life or survival mode, the reality of being a university student. That's the title for today's forum. Joining me today are my group members, Adriana, Yunus, Nithish, and Muaz. Now, we often see university life portrayed as the best years of our lives, filled with growth and excitement. However, the modern reality is often a relentless grind. For many of us, campus life has transformed into a high stakes survival mode. From financial strain to career anxiety, we are constantly balancing on a very thin line. Now, to kick things off, let's look at how our physical environment dictates our psychology and the success. This brings us to Adriana. Adriana, we're looking at the mental fatigue of maintaining a social life. So, how do students cope with the pressure?
Thank you, Amma. I think this is something many students struggle with silently, but rarely talk about openly. When people imagine university life, they usually picture students hanging out, joining events, and enjoying freedom. But in reality, many students are mentally exhausted trying to keep up with those expectations. Today, maintaining a social life is not just about meeting friends physically, it also involves maintaining an online presence. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok create pressure to always appear happy, active, and socially connected. At the same time, students are balancing assignments, classes, club activities, and sometimes part-time jobs. Yet, many still feel pressured to reply quickly, attend gatherings, and stay active online because they are afraid of being left out. And honestly, that becomes mentally draining. For example, after a long day of lectures and deadlines, sometimes all a student wants is rest. But instead of disconnecting, many force themselves to socialize or stay active online just to maintain appearances. Over time, this creates mental exhaustion. We may be physically present but mentally tired. What makes it worse is social comparison. Students constantly see others posting achievements, friendships, and what looks like a perfect university life. Even though we know social media only shows highlights, it still affects us psychologically. As a result, many students feel burned out, not only academically, but emotionally as well. The pressure today is not just about getting good grades, but also about proving that we are doing okay socially. So personally, I believe students should normalize setting boundaries and prioritizing mental well-being. It is okay to disconnect, rest, and take time for ourselves. Because at the end of the day, a healthy social life should support our mental health, not drain it. With that, I'll pass it back to Amar for the next discussion.
Thank you, Adriana. And it's true, I think, that mental exhaustion often stems from the fear that we aren't doing enough to prepare for what comes after graduation. This leads me to my own observation regarding future career anxiety, which holds dear to me personally. Now, in the olden days, there was a standard formula for a successful life. You go to school, you get a degree, you start a family, and you retire comfortably. It was linear. It was a predictable path you could take. But for our generation, that formula is completely broken. A degree is no longer a golden ticket. It's just the bare minimum to enter an incredibly crowded, incredibly competitive race. We are in survival mode before our careers even begin. Now, in the Klang Valley, a starting salary is 3K, and that's often the ceiling for fresh grads. Yet, it barely covers our rent, our food, and transportation. Furthermore, the work climate today is incredibly volatile. If you read the news, we have our COVID, the global wars disrupting economies, the rapid change of our environment, and AI reshaping the demand for human labor. The skills we need are changing faster than our syllabus can keep up. Even our government recognizes this conundrum. And this forces us into a double life. We study our university by day, but we are forced to adapt and upskill by night. The weight of this situation is heavy because we are terrified of underemployment. It's not just about being jobless, it's the fear of being overqualified but underpaid. Because of this, we chase professional certifications and side hustles like they are our make or break. We know we can rely solely on just a paper degree to protect us in a world where industries can disappear overnight. But staying in one place is hard enough. Moving between home and campus adds another layer of friction. So, Yunus, how does the daily commuter struggle add to this sense of survival?
Oh, thanks, Amar. Okay. So as you mentioned before, Students are forced into a double life of upskilling. But for many of us students, this is a insignificant portion of that night and day. It's spent studying at all. It's spent behind a steering wheel or even waiting for a bus. And this could be called the commuter's struggle. When we talk about university survival mode, we have to talk about the physical and financial friction of just showing up for classes. For the off-campus student, the day doesn't start in the lecture hall. It starts at 6 or earlier to beat the notorious Klang Valley or even Bandar Baru Bangi crawl. When you spend 2 hours a day, 1 hour going and 1 hour coming back, stuck in a stationary line of cars, you aren't just losing time. You're losing a bit of your mental health and your mental battery before the class even begins. But it's not just the exhaustion of the drive, it's the mounting cost of the movement itself. We are currently facing a reality where every kilometer has a price tag. With the recent discussions on fuel prices due to international conflicts and even implementations regarding targeted subsidies, the volatility of fuel prices is a constant weight on a student's mind. We find ourselves calculating our weekly budget not in meals, but in liters of petrol. Then there are also the toll fees. For many of us, a faster route to campus is a pay-to-win system. You might save a few minutes of traffic, but it might cost you a price of a full lunch at the cafeteria. By the end of the month, those small beeps you hear on the Touch and Go card add up to a staggering amount that could have gone towards our textbooks, savings, or even meals. We aren't just commuting at this point, we are navigating a financial minefield. This constant commuter's anxiety of worrying if there's enough balance in the car or if we can ignore the dashboard lights for just a few more weeks is the very definition of a student survival mode. So with that, this leads to a new grim trade-off. When the cost of transport goes up, something else has to go down to keep it balanced. Usually, that's our physical health. So Nithish, how does these financial strains translate into nutritional sacrifice many students are forced to take?
That is painful reality, Yunus. You mentioned calculating life in liters of petrol rather than a meal, and that is exactly where the problem starts. When the cost of moving, fuel, and tolls become a non-negotiable fixed cost, the only flexible part of the student's budget is the food they eat. You cannot negotiate with the petrol pump, so we end up negotiating with our own stomachs. When we talk about the survival mode, we are literally talking about the psychological survival. As students, our budget is the primary architect of our health. There is a direct, undeniable correlation between a student's wallet and their biological well-being. Think about the mental math we do every day. If you have only 10 ringgit left after paying for your committee, you are not looking for a balanced meal with a lean protein, healthy fats, and fresh fibers. You are looking for a caloric density, whatever provides the most energy for the least amount of money. This is the birth of a Maggie culture. It is not a lack of discipline, it is a survival strategy. But here is the cost. Research show that highly processed diets leads to a brain fog, chronic lethargy, and a massive drop in cognitive concentration. This creates a cruel irony. We are at university to use our brain to their maximum potential, yet our financial constraints force us to consume fuel that actually hinders our ability to think. We are essentially trading our long-term physical health, our organs function, and metabolic rate just to survive the current semester. We are literally starving our brains of the nutrition they need, the very lecture we are paying to attend. Have you walked through our campus cafeterias lately? Look at the price difference between a plate of white rice with gravy versus a piece of fresh fruit or a side of mixed vegetables. The healthy options is often treated as a luxury add-on. For a student on a tight budget, that extra 2 ringgit for a salad is a difficult choice. It's a difference between a side of vitamins or being able to afford a drink to stay hydrated. We are fueling the leaders of tomorrow with the lowest quality fuel available today.
Hello, my name is Muaz. I would like to edit my points to add more value. Listening to everyone's experiences, we can clearly see one thing. All these struggles eventually led to what many students suddenly experience every day, which is time poverty. Time poverty is not simply about being busy. It is a constant feeling that there is never enough time to properly rest, recover, or even breathe. As students, we are expected to balance academics, assignment, club activities, commuting, part jumps, family responsibilities, and maintaining a social life all at the same time. Eventually, every hour of the day starts feeling scheduled and transactional. A normal student often begin early in the morning and ends late at night. After classes, there are meetings, projects, deadlines, revision, and sometimes work shift. By the time we finally have the moment to ourselves, it is already midnight, and even then, many students cannot truly relax because there is always another task waiting tomorrow. What makes this more exhausting is the guilt attached to resting. Many students feel guilty when they take breaks, sleep early, play games, or spend time on hobbies because it feels like they are wasting time. Productivity has become so normalized that resting almost feels undeserved. Over time, this creates burnout. Students are physically present in class but mentally exhausted. Some survive on caffeine and a few hours of sleep just to keep up with expectation. We often hear phrases like, sleep is for the weak, or I only slept 3 hours, as if exhaustion has become an achievement instead of warning sign. The reality is, university students today are not only managing education. We are managing pressure, uncertainty, finances, expectation, and time itself. And when every part of their completes for intention, something important is always sacrificed, usually our health, rest, or peace of mind.
Thank you for that, Nithish. This certainly creates a vicious cycle of fatigue that bleeds into our productivity and our mental health. So before we wrap up, any questions?
I have a question. Looking at the points we have raised, especially the physical and nutritional toll, do you think people outside our circle actually see this struggle? Or do they only care about our end results like grades and CGPA?
So I think they mostly see the highlights. They see the graduation photos and the achievements, but they rarely see the 2 a.m. breakdowns or the literal hunger behind them. We have become experts at performing productivity while being internally drained. It's not asking for an easy life, just enough empathy and space to actually breathe while we learn.
Well said, Nithish. I couldn't agree more.
Thanks, Adriana. And with that, let's head to our final closing remarks. Yunus, the floor is yours.
Well, firstly, thank you, Amar, my fellow moderator, and to all our fellow speakers right now. As we draw our discussion to a close, it is very clear now that university experience is no longer just about pursuit of knowledge. It's an exercise, of high-level endurance. Today, we've unmasked the layers of the survival mode. Adriana shows us the invisible weight of social exhaustion and the digital pressure to perform. Amar highlighted the daunting career anxiety and the reality of being overqualified yet underpaid in a very volatile job market. I've touched on the commuter struggle where time and money are drained before we even step into a lecture hall. Nithish exposed the nutritional sacrifice we make, where our health becomes the currency we pay for our education. And finally, Muaz, who tied it all together by defining the depth of time poverty that leaves us with no room to breathe. In conclusion, university survival mode isn't just a phase, it's a systematic challenge. But by discussing these realities openly, we've now moved away from a silent struggling toward a collective resilience. It's time we acknowledge that being a student today is a full-time job on itself, one that requires more than just academic intelligence, but a relentless will to survive as a student. So thank you all today for bringing that up and shedding some light on this topic. That's all for today. Thank you.